Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our third concert of this year's Music at Noon concert series. My name is Rachel, and I'm the department chair here in music at the Marilyn Walker School of Fine and Performing Arts. Before I formally welcome today's wonderful guests, I have just a few short reminders. First, there's no concert next week. We will be on reading break here at Brock, but please do join us in 2 weeks for a fantastic performance by Brett Kingsbury. He teaches at the University of Western Ontario. He's a fantastic pianist, and we hope to see you here then. And also a reminder to turn off your cell phones so as not to distract the performers on stage. This afternoon, we're pleased to welcome the John Sherwood Trio, featuring, of course, John Sherwood on the keys, alongside Rob McBride on bass, and Devon Fornelli on the drums. You can find more information about our guests on the backside of your program. And before we welcome our guests to the stage, it is important that we acknowledge that this space in which we come together to hear and to make music rests on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Attawandaron people. As an artistic community, it is our responsibility to recognize the history of this land and to explore and challenge our relationship to that history. Knowing the immense harm done to First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities throughout Turtle Island, we respect and we affirm the treaty rights of all Indigenous people. In recognition of a history that precedes us, we bring great care to the processes of creating, innovating, and expressing that we undertake here at the school, believing deeply in the power of music to help us grow in our understanding and our commitment to reconciliation. We invite you to consider one thing you can actively do today to participate in making necessary change. And without any further ado, we will welcome the John Sherwood Trio to the stage.
Thank you. You can tell we're already having a lot of fun up here. And you're a small but appreciative audience. You'll forgive me if I sit down. Don't know what's going on with my back. Maybe, I know I'm not working too hard. But I'm much more comfortable sitting. And since it's a small audience and you're all in the dark there, I can't really see you anyway. So I'm going to sit and tell you about that. That's a tune by anybody? Thank you. Bill Evans. The great Bill Evans. And I chose that mainly because of the band that we have. This is a very Evans-ish kind of ensemble. That was called, thank you. Any Debbies here? Is Debbie here? She is here. She can tell you all about it. I'd sure like to know who Debbie was, because Bill wrote this tune called Waltz for Debbie, and it's one of the prettiest songs, as you heard. And it really kind of showcases his formal training, his classical background, with the harmony and all the lovely things that happen in there, and the fact that it's in 3/4. There aren't enough jazz repertoire that's in the 3/4 time signature, in my opinion. And it's one of the great ones. So let's say hello to my good friend Rob McBride on the bass. Rob, thank you. Such a treat, such a pleasure, and we're really glad that Rob was able to come and play with us today. Our drummer is Devon Fornelli. Devon? And Devon has more to do later in the program. That was more of just kind of an introduction to the kind of sound that you're going to be hearing today. I've chosen not to read today. I have a list of songs here. That's all I have. I've found that making the odd mistake, which you heard, there was a couple of places there where I turned left when I was supposed to turn right, but I'm still having more fun than someone who's buried in a score. And that's sort of the way I want to kind of roll from now on. Commit as much of it to memory as we can. Most of you know that jazz is short form music. These are really short songs. That one's like, 50 measures long or something. Most of them are only 32 bars long. So there's no excuse for not knowing like thousands of tunes. Because as I was saying to Karen earlier, and it's not only that, a lot of these tunes sound the same because they are the same. They have the exact same chords in them. That song has an F, D, G, C. I mean, that's 1, 6, 2, 5. There are many, many songs that are created on that same kind of set of chord changes. So I look at it as sort of like file compression. If any of you are into computer science, video compression, that's how it works. All the stuff that's the same gets written once into one place in memory. And that frees up a lot of parking places for the other stuff you have to remember, like this one song we're going to play today that sounds like every other song except it has a D major chord in it, in the middle. You just have to remember where it is. So there's a parking space for that, but I'm still not using any more memory to remember that song than I am any of the others. So, file compression. Take that with you. I think that's something that's a good analogy. We're going to continue now with a standard called Stompin' at the Savoy. And I don't know if they did they give you a program? Oh, they did. So you know that it's Edgar Simpson, and you can correct me on that if you like, because there were a few people credited in those days. Very often you'd find 3 or 4 composers credited by, to composing a piece. And Edgar Simpson seemed the one that came up the most. I'm not going to mention singers today, lyricists today, because we don't have a singer. You'll all be very thankful that I'm not going to sing today. So, when they say words by, Rogers and Hart, all of those, Lerner and Lowe, all of those things. I'm just giving you the music composers. So that was Bill Evans. There were words written to Waltz for Debbie. Anybody know who wrote them? Gene Lees wrote them. He was a lyricist. The only reason I'm telling you that is because some words were written to songs unsolicited. That is, Bill Evans didn't want anyone to write lyrics to his song, but Gene Lees did, and then Tony Bennett sang it on that great record with the duo. Here is Stompin' at the Savoy. this will feature Devon a little bit more. It's kind of an interesting arrangement by Eddie Daniels, and I hope you recognize it. It's also in the key of F, which is why I talked for so long. I throw them off. We'll be making a lot of visits to the key of F today. 2 bars. So it'll be like 1, 2, 1, 2, and we're in. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2. Devon Fornelli on the drums. Thank you. Stopping at the Savoy. We're going to continue now with some Cole Porter, a man who wrote all the music and the words. So incredible some of the ways that he used the lyrics to complement some of the melodies that he wrote. This one's called All of You, Cole Porter, and it'll showcase, hopefully, a different kind of piano style, which I'm sure you've probably heard. Thank you. And now a tune that everyone knows. This is Wave by Antonio Carlos Jobim. And we're going to play this one straight ahead, nice Latin, and hope you enjoy it. Wave. We'll start out with Devon. Your tempo, Devon. Thank you. Devon Fornelli once again on the drums. That was brisk. That was brisk, baby. That was pretty brisk. A nice tempo, though. Boy, we're going to run out of songs if we keep playing that fast. We're going to feature now. Rob's playing so beautifully. It's just so nice to have this kind of group together. Thank you to the music department for inviting us to do these. These are great concerts. You should come to all of them. They're free. I think they're every Tuesday, and they're mostly really good. I don't know why we're here, but it's normally serious music with some serious soloists, and this is a little more relaxed, and I hope you're enjoying this kind of different approach. Normally they don't let me speak to the audience because I might say something that I shouldn't, but I try to explain what we're doing. And again, it's different every time. That's the nice thing about jazz. If we played that song again for you, it would be completely different. And that's the beauty of it. Always trying to come up with new ideas. I think that's what keeps us going in this genre, is coming up with new ways of playing this music and keeping it interesting for us as well. We're going to feature Rob McBride now. He's going to play the melody and a whole bunch of solos on... who is this by? Oh, this is Frank Lesser. I have a great story about Frank Lesser. Do you remember Oscar Levant? Anybody remember Oscar Levant? He was in the American in Paris. He was the piano player who really played the piano in that movie. And you remember where Gene is, there's a scene where he's smoking cigarettes in the cafe, and he's putting them in his coffee, and he keeps lighting up another cigarette. That's Oscar Levant, and he does some brilliant playing in that movie. He went to a party one time at Frank Lesser's house. Lesser is, they wrote a lot of, what was his partner's name? Oh. No, that was Lerner. Lesser wrote a bunch of musicals. Wasn't the Guys and Dolls, wasn't that him? Wrote a lot of shows, a lot of music. Apparently, and this is why they don't let me talk to the audience, because I'm going to tell you a story. Apparently, Frank Lesser had these parties at his apartment, and his wife was a very nasty person. Nobody liked her at all. She was just a horrible... These people are all dead, so I can say this now. I'll be dead someday too, and they can say it about me, but apparently she was a really unpleasant lady. And Oscar Levant, who was a very funny man and a brilliant pianist, was invited to one of Frank's parties, and Frank Lesser, okay, stick with that. So he finally meets Mrs. Lesser and says to her, "Oh, I've heard a lot about you. Apparently you're the evil of two Lessers." He said that to her, and she walked away. So if you ever get a chance, there's a line you can use on a miserable person. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet, if you give it a chance, is Rob McBride, and he's going to play for you now. Thank you, Rob, for that. We have time for one more. And like I said, there aren't enough waltzes in the world, and you know, everybody always picks ones that everyone knows, like Someday My Prince Will Come, which is a lovely song. But we're going to do one called Emily. This was written for the 1964 film, the Americanization of Emily. And actually, I don't think it was ever released. It was just a film score piece that was discovered later. It's a really nice waltz called Emily. And anyone in the audience that's named Emily, will send it out to you. Johnny Mandel wrote this.